to Sword and Board Sidequest Edition. I'm Luke, and joining me today is my very best friend, Evan McDevitt. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling fine. I'm in a good mood. Just watched one of my actual favorite movies, which surprises me every time.
So, I was surprised because this should not work. And its pedigree should not work.
And it technically doesn't. It like, the thing is, we are, as you've seen in the episode title, talking about 1987's Masters of the Universe, which is a canon picture, so you know it's good. And the thing about this movie is that, at least as much as it wants to be a Masters of the Universe movie, there are two other movies that it wants to be way, way more, which is, it wants to be Richard Donner's Superman, and it wants to be Empire Strikes Back.
Absolutely. This came out, this is very clearly riding the Star Wars boom, 1987.
But you can
we're 4 years out.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, we're 4 years out from Return of the Jedi. It is trying desperately to be that kind of movie, and it doesn't want to work for a movie that is based off of a cartoon, based off of a toy line, based off of an R-rated movie. Again, should not work, but does.
And it just comes together beautifully because there are so many things, like, when I also say that it's Superman, like, you can hear it in the theme of He-Man in the movie is so very much John Williams' Superman theme. It's just, it's the pro wrestling entrance music version where they've, like, rounded off the corners for legal reasons. It's amazing. And, like, the design of this movie, there is so much design in this movie. It's unbelievable. Like, Canon Pictures is famous for being like a really cheap picture company, but they clearly sunk a lot into this, which is hilarious because Masters of the Universe was no longer airing when this came out. They basically showed up just in time for the franchise to switch over to She-Ra, just as a side note. But every character has been redesigned in this incredible Mobius meets Jack Kirby art style that is just dripping with detail. And you get, the one notable thing that they do with He-Man, aside from the fact that he no longer has an Iron Cross on his chest, because woof.
I did not catch that, and yeah, okay.
Yeah, He-Man has always had an Iron Cross on his chest, and we've just always had to accept that. But this version, the Dolphin, has a little golden dragon, which is fine. But the real notable thing is that they gave him a red cape. And Dolph Lundgren is absolutely, like, it's true to the character because there are so many parallels in characterization between, like, a Silver Age Superman and He-Man. But it really feels like he's trying to get that Christopher Reeves, like, there are so many moments where he just gives, like, a little warm smile to someone that he's talking to. And it's like, Lundgren is not somebody who is, like, held up as, like, this incredible thespian. He's good in the movies that he's good in, but he's most famous for being a brick with two boxing gloves on it. His most iconic role will always be Ivan Drago, and it's incredible seeing him be someone who's, like, really approachable and friendly, and, like, he spends so many scenes making people feel better.
Any enemy of Skeletor is a friend of ours.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. And it's like, yeah, he's playing Superman. And you know what? Go for it. Because it works in the role. And I can't get over how much those two influences are all over this, despite the fact that it feels pretty true to the source material. Like, obviously it's not, it's not high fiction. It's Masters of the Universe, as you say, a very badly made cartoon based on a very cheap to make toy line.
That was probably based off of a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Probably.
Yeah, it was probably originally an attempt to make a Conan toy line, but then they were like, that doesn't work, and also we don't have the rights, and also let's just throw a bunch of sci-fi in there
and make one body type for
nuts.
Every male figure.
Yep. And you know what? Again, it worked because there are a million Masters of the Universe characters, and that's sort of always been the charm of the line, in my opinion, is the fact that it's like Transformers. One guy gets redone in new colors, and now it's a new guy, and now you've got two action figures, and you can have this guy fight his evil twin, or you can have the good guy who's from the swamp and the bad guy who's from the ocean, and all these things. Which, the thing that amazes me about this movie is that there are, I counted, 7 canonical Masters of the Universe characters in this entire movie. And there are a good, I'm going to say like 10, maybe 15 original characters. And I am so baffled by that choice because, again, if there is a niche you need, then there's got to be a Masters of the Universe character who can fill it. Aside from the fact that, to get into the plot of the movie a little bit, it involves the War of Eternia coming to Earth, and a small group of heroes, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela, and an original character who
totally
is
not Orko,
sort of filling the Orko role. Yeah, well, but he's an inventor instead of a magician, so it's different. It's different enough to make it a new toy.
Right.
And so they're on Earth, and so you have a couple of, Earthling characters who are in the most amazing bit of detail, played by Courtney Cox and Robert Duncan McNeil, otherwise known as Monica from Friends and Tom goddamn Paris from Voyager.
Tom Paris, the most competent person in all of Star Trek, and the person Starfleet doesn't want.
I mean, I am not going to talk to you about the merits of Tom Paris as a character. I'm not. We're not here for that. We're not here for that. It's just the man had lizard sex.
Yeah, we know. We all are abundantly clear of threshold.
Yes. Okay. But so you have all of these new characters and a bunch of new evil characters, and that's where I get completely lost, is the fact that they invent 3 all new villain characters that they put all of this incredible design work into, and it's like, why didn't you just pick 3 of the canonical villains from the show? And I guess because they just didn't want to, and I would just love to know the design.
They kept Beastman, but they made him. He was now like a literal beast man. He doesn't say anything, and he has that weird fawning bit over Skeletor.
Well, the fawning bit was actually character appropriate. I was actually going to say there are 7 Masters of the Universe characters in this movie. I'm only really giving them credit for 6, because everyone has been redesigned from the very slight like He-Man to looking completely unrecognizable like Teela, or the Sorceress, who looks straight up like Superman's mom on Krypton.
In a white dress with crystals.
With a crystal headdress. But Beastman looks exactly the same as his toy. He looks exactly the same as the version that you see in the cartoon. But he has none of the personality. He has none of the gimmicks, because Beastman's gimmick is that he's Aquaman, but for animals. He's the dumb henchman who messes up everything and somehow doesn't get killed by Skeletor. And it's that dynamic, but this take on Skeletor is too serious to have a comedy right-hand man, so they had to change it after they made the suit, I guess. So
well, what blows me away is that Skeletor is Frank Langella,
a real ass actor.
Actual ass actor, playing a role, once again playing a villain who is almost like M. Bison from Street Fighter, where you are too good for the movie you're in.
Yeah, the thing about Raul Julia as M. Bison, though, is that he plays the character as hammy and cartoonishly as that movie deserves. Langella comes at this, and he gives it meaning. Like, every line he gives is the rawest shit you've heard in the entire movie thus far. Like, are we going to talk about the line now? Are we ready? Yeah. Tell me about the loneliness of good, He-Man. Is it equal to the loneliness of evil? Holy shit!
That is way too good of a line for, again, a movie based on a toy line.
And it's amazing. There are these implications. The idea that he's playing Skeletor as someone who knows that he's trapped in a toy line. Like, he plays Skeletor like someone who's like, I've been doing this for years, and it's all been pointless. I lose in the stupidest way possible, but this is it. This is my day. This time I win, and I am an actual goddamn force to be reckoned with. You will stop laughing. And it's incredible, and he's doing so much acting with his complete face covered, and these ridiculous looking fangs in. So all of it is in his eyes, all of his acting, and he is just moon-eyed and wheeling about like he's drunk on power. And it's incredible. It's a legitimately amazing performance as Skeletor.
Perfect. Just genius. Got a lot on the show about how in fantasy, more than any other genre, the music is crucial to the experience. This comes up a lot because you brought it up. It is almost the Superman theme, but with the serial numbers filed off.
Pretty much.
That last fight sequence between Skeletor and He-Man, where it's, nothing will stop us. It was always going to come down to you and me, Skeletor. Legitimately incredible chills because of that theme song. Yeah.
It all comes together. It's the scene is constructed in such a way that, Skeletor has supposedly finally gotten the power of the universe. And he's been given this amazing golden bat god look that looks like Galactus would look at this and go, oh, that is just too much. A lot of pink. And he's fighting with his golden staff against He-Man, who's been stripped of all of his minimal armor, and he's not wearing his cape anymore, and he's covered in like slash marks from being whipped. And you have this incredible contrast where they're like trying to make an underdog out of He-Man, the dude who, and I cannot stress this enough, canonically has the power to win fights. Right. That is actually what the power of He-Man is the power to be exactly as strong as he needs to be to win this fight. And somehow they're like making that guy into the underdog, but it's all visually coming together and the music is there. And this movie has so much action to it. That's the other thing that shocked me, is that like, I feel like I remember a lot of movies of this ilk, and the thing that you get out of them is boredom, because there just isn't enough things. There isn't enough happening. But this movie has like this, it goes. There is a fight scene every 5 minutes.
What I remember is an excruciating amount of time with Tom Paris and Monica. Yeah. And I remember them spending way too much time with them and then nothing else. And watching this as an adult, like, no, they're actually only in there for a little while compared to the rest of the absurdity of Jack Kirby's Fourth World going on in the background.
Yeah. Which it's got to be addressed. This has been called the best Fourth World movie ever made, and with Ava DuVernay's New Gods movie being canceled, it looks like it's going to hold on to that title for a little bit longer.
It got canceled? I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it got canceled a little bit ago. Never trust a corporation, man. But, you have these two cosmic factions of unknowable beings, one of whom is led by the personification of willing evil, and it comes to Earth, and like that is the original New God storyline, is Orion is trapped on Earth and needs to be helped by the locals in order to get home in time for the big fight.
Right.
And it maps so perfectly onto this movie that it's got to be at least partly intentional, I think.
I remember reading a thing just recently about how he didn't intend to make a Fourth World movie, but he did want to make a Jack Kirby homage. Certainly did it. Like, yeah. I was expecting some crackle to show up, and I'm a little bit disappointed that.
Yeah, there are a few places where there are some like post-production energy effects added in, and I'm like, you could have done dots. You could have made that. You could have done that with the dots.
Like the moment he pulls the sword out at the end and screams, "I have the power!" Perfect moment.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been like, I would say, a knowing wink to the audience. But the truth is that there are a lot of actual knowing winks directly to the audience in this movie. Because that is one of the other things I noticed, is a lot of dialogue is delivered directly into the camera. That's part of why I say, like, I feel like Skeletor knows he's trapped in the Masters of the Universe franchise. Because a lot of his dialogue, he will just start out talking to somebody and then just walk past them at the camera and say something and basically end his lines with, "Isn't that right, kids?" And I love it.
My strangest memory of this is my dad repairing the VHS copy of it we had with a piece of tape because I'd watched it so many times, and as an adult thinking, oh wait, that chunk right there, that I don't remember because that's where the tape was.
That's beautiful. That's what an act of fatherly devotion, to actually repair your broken tape that you killed because kids watch one thing over and over. as a father, my son has picked out specific, not just shows that he wants to watch all the time, but specific episodes that he wants to rewatch. Because in the streaming era, he can say, no, I want to watch this episode of Paw Patrol, and he will not be sated by any other. And that's just something I need to accept. We haven't gotten to the point where he watches movies over and over yet. We're holding off on actually introducing him to Star Wars until he's a little older. I'm prepared to watch New Hope every day for a month.
That sounds awful. It sounds like the worst thing in the world.
It'll happen. I'm just prepared for it. The thing about this movie is that it's so consciously in the realm of all of these other things that kids love. This movie was a massive failure. This, it did not take off. It did not spark the imaginations of a generation of kids. Kids were basically tuning out of He-Man, and the toy line was dying. Like I said, She-Ra was just starting to air, because I believe She-Ra started in 87, maybe late 86. You know, the toy line was completely changing as a result. They were going from the action figures to the dolls, and it was, you know, the worst time you could have released this movie. And then there's nobody around to realize that it's not about making a faithful adaptation of a toy line. It's about just swinging for the fences on a buck wild movie. But, you know, they never came in. Nobody ever found out. Right. So it's amazing to me that you had a VHS copy of this, because for me, this movie was a white whale. I heard of this movie when I was a kid because I loved He-Man. I used to walk around the house with a stick down the back of my shirt.
Me too.
Because that was my sword of power. Because I wasn't allowed to actually get sword toys. You know, so I had heard that this movie existed, and I didn't get to see it until I was in college.
Did we watch this in college?
And I watched this in college. I don't know where the hell you were. I think I torrented it. And, you know, Lord knows where I would have found that torrent. I probably killed a computer finding it before your computer could get mined for Bitcoin, but I'm sure that would have happened now. You know, so this was this thing that I was fixated on because I had loved He-Man so much as a concept. Just the idea of it's the origin point for what I call kitchen sink fantasy, because it's just, you can add anything in. It's like there are very few things that I put in this category, and the two biggest are Masters of the Universe and Mortal Kombat, because you can put anything into either of those franchises and it will work perfectly. You know, an assassin clown who fires explosive juggling balls. You could put that into either of those series, and it would totally make sense. The execution would be different. You could have an Eastern dragon versus a Western dragon. You can have a Manticore that sings show tunes. You can do literally anything, and it's always going to work because He-Man is just that nuts.
Yeah, every character, there's a character, No-Face. Or not No-Face, I'm sorry, like Tri-Face. What's his power? He's got 3 faces.
Yeah.
That's not a character. That's just a weird doodle that you did.
Actually, you know what the worst part is? And I hate to cred check you like this. You've actually combined 2 different Masters of the Universe characters. Okay. Because there's Triclops, whose thing is that he has 3 eyes on a big rotating disc. And then there's Man-E Faces, who has 3 heads that spin around in his big astronaut helmet.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm thinking of Man-E Faces, which I'm also upset because that's a pun, and I love that as a pun. And I'm upset at myself for botching that role as hard as I did.
I mean, again, I am sorry to do this on your home turf, but I just had to point out that not only is it that, but that this is an idea that they came back to twice. Twice they were like, what if there was a dude, but there were 3 of him and he spun around? And that's they got 2 completely different action figures that were that same stocky Brock Lesnar muscle body. Because that is the wild thing about, you know, Dolph Lundgren in this movie, is that he is majestic in the way that a tiger is majestic. He is on a level that doesn't even seem human. So he seems like an action figure, but he doesn't seem like a Masters of the Universe action figure, because those things are grotesque.
Yeah, God, they are horrifying.
Just that squat, hunched over, trapezoids up to their ears, unbelievable muscle body, and the idea that that's what normal is in Eternia is just horrifying. If they'd cast for that, then this movie would be unwatchable, because it would be a bunch of people who are too muscled up to move. They would all the acting would be them turning their entire body to turn their heads.
Like it's a Michael Keaton Batman movie.
Exactly. Yes.
We're looking at the board right now.
And I'm feeling pretty favorable. I feel weird saying, like, I'm not thinking that this is going to go in your top 10 necessarily, but I feel like it doesn't take very long before you get to movies that I don't think very highly of at all.
Yeah.
And obviously this is your list, not mine. So the fact that you've got Disney's Three Musketeers below one of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, I mean, that's your business.
This is all arbitrary, and the points don't matter.
That's true. But I will say, if you want to put this below Bright, you'll have to kill me.
No, actually, what I'm looking at right now, my ceiling right now, what it is definitely not better than, is number 14, A Knight's Tale.
I think that's fair.
And I think it's also certainly way more enjoyable than Beowulf.
Yeah, I think it's better constructed than Beowulf, which is hilarious because Beowulf was this, 15-year passion project from, acclaimed writer Neil Gaiman, and boy,
Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, Robert Zemeckis, and there are just some scene transitions in there.
It is certainly a 32 frames a second.
But so we're not here to shit talk a movie I actually do quite like.
So do I.
But I feel like making this the new 15 feels good.
Yeah, me too. So that's what we're doing. Coming in at new 15 is going to be 1987's Masters of the Universe. Evan, how are you? Thank you for coming on. Do you have anything that you need or want to plug?
Well, I do have. Would like to point people towards my itch, which I am a maker of tabletop role playing games. I have only one game on my store at the moment, and it is pay what you want. If what you want is to grab a game for free, that is absolutely fine. I accept that. I wouldn't have put it up for that if I didn't want people looking. My store is rudojudo.itch.io. That's rudojudo.itch.io. And so, like I said, it's only got the one game up right now, but I actually have 3 games in production right now.
Awesome.
So there is going to be a lot of changes. Hopefully, at least 2 of them will be going up before the end of this year. So if you're interested in making a profile on Itch, you can always follow my account, and you will automatically get notified when I post a new game. So that would be delightful. Get yourself something for free. See how I put my work together, and then wait for what's next. I can also be found on Twitter, too much. It's _MCDEVITT.
To be fair, any amount of Twitter is too much.
That's true. Especially as we approach June and Pride Discourse begins again. Just a wonderful birthday present to me every year.
Our theme music, Goblin Road Trip, is produced by Ryan Boyd. You can find them at RyAndroid. Our art is done by Wes Forbes. We can be found on basically every streaming platform: Podbean and Stitcher and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To everyone, stay safe. Keep wearing a mask if you're vaccinated. If you are vaccinated, wear a mask just to be polite.
Don't freak people out.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It was a delight to be here. And, get back into podcasting a little bit.
Yeah, when you get your things running around, let me know, and I will happily give you a hand whenever I can. Stay safe, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye.